Hi guys, welcome back. My name's Claire Manning and I'm the artist designer and guest presenter on Create and Craft, and I design for Thirsty Brush. So thank you for watching last Sunday. It was our first Sunday show, so I do pre-record these shows while I'm in the Stamps by Me studio for our lives that we do at 1 o'clock on a Thursday. So thank you to Tony for letting me use the studio a little bit longer so I can record these shows and you've got something to do at the weekends then for a bit of inspiration. Loads of you got in touch and said that it was really nice for you to have something on a Sunday. Of course, a lot of people don't work on a Sunday and things like that, so there isn't always a lot of inspiration or YouTubes out there, things like that for you to watch. So we're going to do something really different today. But yeah, just wanted to get that in first and say thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. We are looking at how the comments will work. So I saw all your comments and replied to as many as I could. So that might change slightly, but we'll be fine. So today I'm going to do an MDF piece on this square 8x8, that way, yeah, MDF piece. And I'm going to use some acrylics. So this is completely different to the kind of thing we normally do on the shows. So I'm going to go through the kind of setup and the things that you will need. I know Tony did some acrylic paints not so long ago, if you remember that big mixed media bundle that she did. So you can use those if you've got them. I hadn't got those, so I just grabbed what I had in my little YouTube studio. And this is a project that I put out as a picture, I think it was last Saturday. I did record a video on my YouTube and unfortunately the footage got lost. But lots of you got in touch and said that you'd like to see the process and see how I created that effect. So whether it will turn out exactly as it did before or whether it will be slightly different, who knows, because it's the first time I've done this in front of the big cameras here. So to prep, so you need a piece of MDF or chipboard. It won't really work on lighter card because there will be so much paint on there. It's going to kind of warp and everything. So you're going to need something sturdy. You could even do this on a frame. Say you bought a picture frame. If you take the glass out, maybe the backing on there. So if I just get what else I've got. So I've got my paints here, and if I show you, so I've got some greens and I've got some golds, and this is what I used on the, if you have a look on my Instagram, there's a picture of a 5x7 piece that I did, and it's kind of an ombre green effect. I should have brought it with me actually to show you, but you'll see anyway the finished thing. And then I've got two golds. I've got a glitter one and a metallic, or you could use silver or whatever colours obviously you've got. But I find it works really nicely with an ombre kind of effect if you've got any colour in multiple tones going from light to dark. That's absolutely fabulous. And then if you've got some kind of metallic or glittery one for the painting on the top. It is a freehand piece I'm doing, but I'll show you at what points you might want to make some kind of bits of pencil sketch or anything like that that might help you on the way. So that's my paints. Also here on my desk, because I don't want to mess up Tony's lovely work mat here, and acrylics tend to a bit more difficult to get off, I'm going to put my piece of MDF on a piece of acetate, or if you've got a messy mat, something like that, to catch any stray bits of paint. I've got, I know my hands will get messy, so not the most eco-friendly thing to have, but I'm nowhere near a sink. So just to wipe my hands if I need to, some kitchen towel, if I need to wipe my brush, and then I've got a small brush that I'm going to be using for detail. The background, all we use is these couple of little spatula type things. They're like art little tools. Again, I think they came in Tony's bundle if you've got her acrylics, but they're really easy and cheap, and there's like a diamond triangle shaped one and a flat one there, but you can use whatever you've got lying around. I've even used cake baking kind of palette knives and things like that before. So if we get started, oh, and some water. Some people gesso this first. To be honest, the one that I did the other day, I didn't, because we're not using a brush to paint down the background, we're using the spatulas. I found that it went on really smoothly anyway. So personally I didn't, but if you've got some gesso or you need to prime your surface because it's not just a plain piece. So we're going to need this spatula, and I'm going to need my background colours, which are my greens. So if I just show those there, so let's get them in some kind of order of light to dark. It's just whether I want that darker one, look. Do I want that there or there? I think I'm going to have the bright one at the top. Yeah, let's do that. So once you've got them in order, put them next to your piece of MDF so you know which order to go in. And we're going to put the paint down in just 4 little blobs, and it's going to be kind of in quarters. Now this is a point where if you want to, you can pop a little pencil mark to roughly do quarters. Because I've done this before and I'm not looking for extreme accuracy here, I'm not going to bother. But if you know, especially if you haven't done any acrylic work before. So I'm doing a blob of each, just in the middle. You can always go back and add more, but you don't want too much. Just maybe a large pea size. Okay. And then again, going from light to dark. You can go dark to light when you're mixing them, but it's going to give you a more kind of mixed, sketchy look, and you're going to get them kind of go into each other in a more almost like marbled mixed way. But if you want it just really smooth, I think I might need a bit more. This piece of MDF is bigger than I used before. So just before, you have to work reasonably quick with acrylic because it does dry quicker than your watercolour. But we're okay, it's not going to dry too quick. So maybe 2 peas worth. And you use the flat, and then can you see I'm just tilting it slightly to move it around. But then when I go from left to right, I'm just doing it flat and almost like hovering over the colour. So again, I always say I'm not an artist. I've never been to art school. I haven't even got a GCSE. So probably, well, I've got GCSEs, but just not in art. Don't think I came out of school with nothing. And you want a little bit of texture, but also a little bit smooth. But if you want it, look, if I went on my side of my spatula there, you could add in more texture if you want. And then as I come down, I'm going to start bringing in that next colour. And this is going to give that lovely ombre effect. So I'm sure technically this is incorrect in terms of how an art school would teach you to use acrylics, but we're crafters, aren't we? And we don't mind having a play and just achieving something that we're happy with. And you see how that's starting to blend? So the more you move that across where those colours meet, the more smooth your blend you'll get. Or if you're happy with some of that area where it changes colour, I think it gives a nice almost kind of sea or sky looking finish. So I'm quite happy with that one. I think I need a bit more of the dark. But it's definitely easier to add a bit more colour. If you've got too much swishing around there, it'll just work surface and you'll be scraping it around forever. But can you see how quick that is, just from 4 little dots? And we've got some texture there, but we've also got some really nice smooth areas. Just blend that one a bit more. But a really light hand, that's all you need. So I must apologise that I'm sitting down. Just to mention, one, I do sit down when I paint because I just find it easier, but I've also broken my toe, so I'm just taking the weight off it a little bit as well. But don't worry, it's nothing serious. Now, have I got, yes, got something in my paint there that I'm just going to try and get out. So don't worry if you get something like that, you drop something, or just go back in and blend. be absolutely fine. So up to you, like I say, where these colours meet, how smoothly you want that blend, just how quickly you work it. So I can feel that that paint's starting to dry now. As I'm moving across, it was starting to drag, and that's really, it's telling you to leave it alone now. Otherwise you start getting scratches in it and things like that. So just gonna give my hand a little wipe, and then I'm gonna dry that off, ready for the next stage, which is painting on your detailed image. So I did some vines and leaves and things like that on the one that I posted the other day. So we'll do something similar because people were asking how I did that. Very, very simple. Again, I didn't sketch anything, I just went for it. So it all takes practice. Right, clean hands, get that acetate out the way. I'll just give that a clean, a dry, sorry. What you could do for the edges, this MDF is probably 2 to 3 mils thick. You could, with a very fine brush, go around with your gold as well after, if you're not framing this piece to hang on the wall, and you want that edge to look really finished off. It'd take a few minutes to do with a fine brush, but it would be really nice. Or if you were selling your piece or anything like that, it would just give it that final touch. So nearly dry. Acrylic really doesn't take long. You can see it goes slightly more matte, these paints, but what effect you get, whether it's glossy or matte, will just depend on which brand or which acrylic paints you're using. So I think that's dry enough to work on, yeah. Just pop that out the way. Don't really need that now. Oh, actually, I'll use it as a surface to put my gold paint on. So yeah, I decided on the metallic one rather than the glitter one, just because I think it's smoother. The glitter one, it has to dry clear and then the glitter pops out. So I just found it a little bit more difficult for me to see where I was working, but I'm sure if you're experienced at acrylics, then you'd have plenty. You'd be able to have a play around. So I've just put a little squidge on this. I'm going to use it like a little palette, this acetate, and just a damp brush. We're not watercolouring here. You don't want any water in your paint. You just don't want it to be bone dry. Otherwise, you can get too many brush strokes. And what I'm going to do, just deciding which way up. I did the last one like that. I'm wondering whether to... No, you get more contrast. I'll explain to you why I've gone for the dark at the top. And I'm just going to draw a vine that kind of, think about an S shape. So very fine brush. This is a size 3. And again, I'm no expert with this. You're better if you can do it in one stroke. But to be honest, in front of the camera, I'm probably not confident enough to do that. So I'll just do little fine strokes is no problem. Don't worry if it's a little bit sketchy. You will lose that when, the paint dries and you get the full effect of the metallic. And we're going to add some leaves, so any little lumps or bumps you really won't notice. So I've done kind of an S and then almost like another bump. Next thing to do is add another one. Now, because I don't want to put my hand in that to go next to it, I've got two options. I can either go over here first, or I'm going to turn, or you might want to start in the middle, for example. I'm just going to go along from this side, and I'm going to do some of these little vines longer and some of them thicker than others, just to get a bit of variation and interest. If it starts dragging too much like it is there, you probably just need to either put more paint on or just dampen your brush again. But again, no water as such just to stop it dragging. Always go back over and smooth any lines out if you want to, but it really won't matter once you start putting the leaves on. Again, start varying the distance now between. Creating something like this is all about interest. You don't want it too sterile, too exact, too geometric. You want variation, different curves going different ways and different distances. Curves with more bends in, slightly straighter ones. See, my brush is getting a bit dry now there because it's starting to drag. I'm going to do a shorter one, nice and close there. Just keep working across. Should we do another long one? So there's literally 3 stages to this picture. You do the background, which as you saw took me, what, 5 or 6 minutes maybe? We do the vines and then we add the leaves on. Simple as that. Anybody could do this. And it's just a design I've just made up. It's not, you know, following a certain process or trying to copy a particular artist or anything like that. So I would say if you've got some paints in your stash and maybe you've used them for a bit of mixed media, you know, we know how we love mixed media because it's easy to slap on some paint and get all those kind of mixed paints and texture and everything with all your little embellishments, but this will be a different way for you to use. See, I've got myself in a right mess again. I think some bits around the edge were still a bit damp, so I'm going to make sure I'm clean before I start going in with the intricate detail because I don't want to spoil it and mess it up. But it's not the end of the world, is it? It's only a cheap piece of MDF. And the great thing about MDF is that you could start again, couldn't you? If you're really not happy with it, don't throw it away. Just gesso over it if you've got some white gesso or something like that, or black gesso, and then just start again. Because it's going to smooth it out and get rid of any very small changes in texture there. Right, so now we're going to add leaves. So just to, let me see if I can grab a tiny bit of card. I just want to practice show you a leaf. So what I would say is if you've never done anything like this before, and it's the most basic leaf shape, but just to get your confidence up a little bit, just practice a few leaves, decide what size. So you're doing 2 little strokes of your brush and then just filling in any gap. That is literally it, that's all we're going to do. So just have a 5-minute practice because it will make you feel better about them when you start doing these leaves on your piece, and you'll know what kind of size you're going for. So what we need to do is do those leaves either side going down, and again we're looking for kind of variation here. I find it easier because I'm right-handed to kind of tip my piece like this, but you do it however you find. So I go 1 leaf out, make sure they're touching the vines. And then you might do them slightly pointing down or slightly pointing up. They haven't got to be perfect, that's not the idea of it. The idea is to get you used to using a brush with the acrylics rather than watercolouring. So yeah, this is something new to me as well. So if I'm not doing it perfectly, I do apologise, but this is how I found works for me. And if you'd like to see some more, as I say, I'm going to pick up some of Tony's acrylics while I'm here today. So if you'd like to see some more acrylic projects that are a bit different than just your standard mixed media, let me know in the comments and I can either do some more in the studio here or on my YouTube channel as well. And can you see the leaves? So I've done some where they kind of come out together and then others where there's a bit of a gap, but I'm always doing kind of one on the left and one to the right of the vine. But again, it's all about variation. Maybe some slightly smaller than others. Some bigger. Whatever you feel looks pretty, really. And the best part of this kind of project is the effect once the metallic paint is dry and when you see it against the light, it's a really nice effect. This is definitely easier to do this kind of thing sat down. I don't think I could do this standing up as I normally am. And then when you get to the end, I tend to like do one leaf that comes down into like a point. So that's the reason why, remember I couldn't quite decide which way up I was going to have it from the light to the dark. I found I get more definition and more kind of drama in it if I start with the darker colours at the top. So let's see if we can get this to catch the light a little bit for the camera in the gold. I've gone too far. Can you see that it's still not quite dry, so you're not getting as much shine as you will do, but even just the one vine so far still gives a really, really nice effect. So now it's just a case of working down those vines. So I know it's a very different demonstration for me. It's not as quick paced and you know, it's only one project, not two for you today, but because so many of you asked you, and I thought it's nice and relaxing for a Sunday anyway, isn't it? So you'll have probably seen I am available in the comments for a chat, or if you've got any questions about what I'm using or how to do anything, just give me a shout. So exactly the same process as the previous vine. Just be careful where some come close here. Either leave yourself enough room or purposely do a smaller one. They can touch and overlap if you like, but just make sure it doesn't look too messy. But like I say, it's never going to be perfect because I'm not an artist. Don't want to lean over that. So if you wanted to mount something like this onto a card, use a kind of a piece of chipboard maybe, or grey board that's like 1 mil, so it's still sturdy enough to hold the weight and the moisture of the paint. And then you're going to need a really sturdy card blank. Maybe even, if you ever had to do like a matte and layer on the back of your card, to even out the weight of something that's on the front, so you might have to do something like that just to make sure it stands up. But you could absolutely do this for a card too. Coasters would be nice. Do some MDF coasters and put a seal over them, like some Mod Podge or something. And certainly other colours. I'm definitely going to try it with some pinks going into some dark reds and maybe some different leaf types next time I do it. So same process, I'm just working through leaf at a time. I'm not trying to make the paint too smooth either. I'm leaving a tiny bit of texture on there. Might be able to see in the camera, it's just, you know, you can see where it's still wet because it's a bit thicker, but I kind of want it to be like that. That's my excuse anyway, because I'm not the greatest painter to be able to smooth it out. Just feel like that's getting a bit dry again. There we go. I'm actually using a watercolour brush here. There are acrylic brushes which you'll find are a bit stiffer, which are fine for your mixed media projects, as in you're doing backgrounds, you're painting over things with gesso or your basic acrylic colours. But I find detail work for me, I find their small brushes a bit stiff, but that's probably just because I'm not used to using them enough. So this is just a standard watercolour brush. So I bet you've all got one maybe from your Eurekas. There's a size 4, is there, in a Eureka, and this is a 3, so that a 4 would work perfectly. Well, we're nearly halfway through on the leaves. I hope this is nice and relaxing for you and not boring, but it's really, when you guys ask to see something, I think it's important that I show you from start to finish where I can and where we've got the time, so you can see the full process. And what better day of the week to relax and watch a bit of painting. Just call me Bob Ross. Was anyone watching him in lockdown? They were showing repeats on, was it BBC 2 or something? Yeah, all these happy trees and scenic paintings, lots of, what does he say, a happy little mountain, a happy tree over here. I feel myself going into the voice. So remember at that end, you could do maybe 2 split. I do like to have something pointing downwards. I don't know, I just feel like it brings your eye down and extends that vine a bit. Right, I'm going to try and speed up a bit for you so it's not too much of doing the same. I think you've got the idea now, haven't you? So what have we got coming up this week? We've got Tony's back on TV, I think Tuesday. I can't remember the name of the collection, but yeah, she's on Create and Craft on Tuesday. Her shop opened yesterday. And then I'll be back in the studio again on Thursday for the Thirsty Thursday Live. There you go, I feel like I can speed up a bit now. So forgive me if it's not perfect, these last few leaves, but now you've got the idea. I just want to show you the finished article. So in these bright lights, I don't feel like there is as much definition as in real life between that dark and darker greens and the gold. It's quite prominent, but hopefully when I hold it up at the end and we see if we can get the lights to catch that lovely gold shimmer. You know, green and gold are my favourite. That's quite long, so I'm struggling to get over to that one without leaning on the... It's nice and dry though, that underneath now. clean up those points a little. So I think the acrylic paint I've got here on the acetate, I don't know whether it's a combo of the acetate and the lights, it's actually staying quite wet. Sometimes when I do it back at my studio, it dries a little bit quicker than this. So you might want to just put out a little bit at a time. I know Tony's are in pots, so you can just scoop out a little bit at a time, and then you haven't wasted any if you haven't used it and it's dried out a bit too quick for you or anything like that. Or a particularly hot or dry day, for example. Acrylic can, you will notice if you haven't used it much before and you've mainly focused on water-based paints, watercolours, that you will notice a difference, but you soon get used to it. So I really want to kind of explore acrylics more, because I've always been terrified of mixed media and acrylics. So when I did this as my first project, I thought, well, maybe if I can do it for you guys, and maybe if you haven't done this kind of thing before as well, where maybe we can learn it together and come up with some ideas together. So if there's anything in particular you'd like to see, if you'd spotted a piece of artwork, I'm not talking about professional artwork, but maybe, I don't know, on YouTube or Instagram or something like that, and you think, I know that's done with acrylics, but I really don't know how, then let's try and find out. See if we can create a kind of crafter's version of something, or at least learn some extra skills. Okay. So I'm just going to leave that for a second to dry, and I will dry it off with a tool. So I would never at home get rid of that extra paint. I would get out another piece of MDF or use it up somehow or something. But just because I'm here, I have to clean up after myself. So it's going to be that way up. Oh, there's one last thing I wanted to do actually. I should have left a bit. Oh, if you have a look, not to worry, if you have a look at the one on Instagram that I did last week, I added some loose leaves. In fact, let's do one or two. I won't do too many because it'll just take too long, but I added some, as if the leaves were kind of falling from these vines, and it just filled a little bit of this blank space and gave it an extra bit of detail. So what I did was just randomly in between the vines there, I just did some of the leaves that aren't attached to any of the vine. Just like that. Just a few. As if they were falling away. See what I mean? And then once you build it up, it adds that extra bit of dimension. But let's, just for quickness while we're here, just seeing if I've got any gold sequins or something. How about a few of these bronzy kind of ones? And you could even add a sentiment. So I think these would look really nice. These are the special words dies that we did. So imagine if you cut those out of, say, gold mirror card or glitter card or something like that, if you wanted to give it to somebody as a gift and you wanted a sentiment on there. But for now, let's pop a couple of sequins and then see if we can get some of that, show you how shiny that is. Don't know what's going on with my glue there. I think I need to bring another one with me. This one's almost gone. There we go. So I'm just going to do a couple of dots. So where I would have drawn some more leaves, maybe. Keep it random. Try not to make it too... Don't think about it too much, basically, so it's not too generic. I think I've got enough. Imagine if I've picked out the exact amount now, I'd be so impressed. I'm one short. That's all right. Let's find one more. So there we've got just 2 colours, greens and gold. 4 different shades for the background and then the gold metallic. See if we can get, there we go, look at that beautiful shine. So it's really, really effective. So do have a look on my Instagram as well for the one that I did last week, which was a 5x7 version, and I will definitely be doing more of these in other colours that I will post and show you what I've done and any variations I do about the vines. I'm going to try some different leaves, maybe little blossoms or something like that, but again something very simple. When but I was doing the original vines, if you want to maybe pencil those on top of your background, that's absolutely fine to do. You won't see that pencil, you won't need to rub it out or anything once your acrylic goes over the top. But if you find that helps you to guide you while you're trying these things for the first time, that's absolutely fine. So I'd love to see what you do. Please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought of it, and post me a picture on socials or something if you give it a go. And I will see you, I will see you next Thursday at 1 p.m. For Thirsty Thursday, and we'll be back to doing some card demonstrations then. So take care guys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend and stay safe.